talk because I don't engage with men's mental health advocates.
You don't. You literally prove it in your next statement.
Same red pill shit that you're on. Jordan Peterson, Myron from Fresh and Fit, fucking Ben Shapiro, Steven Crowder, Charlie Kirk, just all of these, Andrew Tate.
Not a single person you named is a men's rights advocate, my friend. It's funny because the most mainstream men's rights advocates are actually women, like the Dadvocate, Emily King, or Chloe Roma. Of course, Chloe Roma as of late has been getting a lot of flack from the men's rights community, but I digress.
Andrew Tate, these men believe therapy is not for men. They believe that if you're a man who needs therapy, you are a weak man.
Okay, but when have I told men never to seek therapy? In fact, when do any real men's rights advocates advocate against men going to therapy? You can't just list a bunch of random conservative commentators and act like it's a got you moment against the men's rights community when most conservative commentators aren't even men's rights advocates. Not only do I personally go to therapy, but arguably I take part in group therapy sessions here on TikTok during live streams. Many of these live streams are hosted by actual mental health professionals. If you had actually joined one of these lives like you claim to have, you would have noticed that we don't tell men not to go to therapy, but we do ask them why they are unwilling to. And if you actually listen to their answers, what you will notice is that it never has anything to do with the toxic masculinity or patriarchy you like to ramble about. 90% of the time, they're saying stuff like, I tried therapy, it didn't seem to work. So when men's rights advocates actually talk about therapy, they're talking about fixing therapy so that it actually works for men, not telling men not to go.
In your angry stitch on my face, you blamed women.
And in your stitch, you clearly show me saying women are part of the problem, not 100%. What you're doing is trying to deflect away from the real conversation at hand, and that is women are part of the problem. Actually, if you spent as much time going to therapy, you might understand the concept of micro-expression. The only person who's doing an angry stitch here is you. Your micro-expressions give you away. Hell, let me do you a solid. Here's a book that my therapist recommended called Captivate that helped me learn to read micro-expressions like the obvious ones you're giving off there. It's not that I blamed women, it's that I correctly pointed out that women are partially to blame for these issues. And I correctly called you out for trying to absolve women of the role that they play in perpetuating these issues. I never said men aren't responsible at all, but I did correctly point out nobody wants to talk about the role that women play, especially not guys like you.
Opening up to women, you haven't talked to enough women.
That's where you're wrong, my friend. Like I keep telling you, the largest MRAs all happen to be women. Hell, I'll go ahead and tag them down below because I join their lives all the time to discuss my feelings and open up to them about my issues. But every time a woman stands up and talks about men's issues, other women take it as a personal attack. Women absolutely hate it when women advocate for men. And it's obvious. I witness it all the time. It's like modern feminism is so strongly attached to man-hating, they think advocating for men is an attack on them. I guess those used to privilege might perceive equality as a form of oppression.
Because women bear the emotional brunt of the fact that men can't talk to each other emotionally.
No, they don't. They just claim they do. If anything, it's the other way around because anytime there's a conversation women don't want to have, they start trauma dumping. Anytime there is a conversation about their abuse tactics or their manipulation tactics, they start rambling about SA or GRAPE. Women use trauma dumping as a tactic to deflect away from conversations they do not want to have. Like seriously, you're just repeating what women tell you as if a woman isn't going to be dishonest to cover up her own flaw. And yet y'all happily accuse men of doing exactly that. It's like y'all are projecting. Actually listen to men and why they don't open up to women for a change. Half the times it's, it always gets weaponized against me, or I get shamed for it. They tell me to go to therapy, that I'm not their mom. And yet they're the first to trauma dump on us to avoid conversations they don't want to have about their own toxic behavior. Make it make sense.
You want to say that men are wired to not be emotional.
I've never said that.
We're not like women. We don't have empathy.
I never said that either.
You want to turn around and, when it's Pride Month and say, well, what about Males Mental Health Month?
I've literally never said anything of the sort. Oh, and plot twist, I have a transgender brother. Born female, transitioned male. They are included in this conversation too, my friend. Ooh, even better. Chase Oliver for president 2024. I'm a card-carrying member of the Libertarian Party, and I'm campaigning for Chase Oliver, an openly gay man. He's included in Men's Mental Health Month as well. You have made so many ridiculous assumptions about me, and it's the very reason why Gen Z men are jumping ship from the left in droves. Because y'all fail to realize that not every man is white, heterosexual, or cisgender. June can be both Pride Month and Men's Mental Health Month at the same time. I mean, for Christ's sakes, I also have Pride memorabilia. Did you really think this was a gotcha moment? This constant man-bashing that's been coming from the left for the last decade and a half has really put y'all in a hole that y'all aren't going to escape. I mean, y'all could escape it, but you're too ignorant to admit, hey, we're wrong, and women can be toxic and abusive. I mean, conservatives will bring up the 1340 crime statistic, and y'all will rightfully point out that's because of systemic racism. But what y'all fail to acknowledge is that it's not necessarily a 1340 crime rate as much as a 640 crime rate, because it's mostly black men who are being convicted for those crimes. Most of which, ironically, are actually victimless crimes that shouldn't even exist. But yet, when we start talking about the disproportionate rate in which men are convicted compared to women, even though women commit the same crimes at the same rate in many cases, y'all fall silent. Y'all use the same logic and reasoning that conservatives do to justify their tough on crime stances. I guess if you go far enough left, you just end up becoming a fascist. So in the future, instead of shooting your mouth off and embarrassing yourself by making all kinds of assumptions, maybe you should actually try to engage in civil discourse and understand where your opponents are coming from. Toodles!